Greetings! In today's video, I am going to take a look at these really fun paints from Schmincke. This was a special set they released within their Academy range, which is their student range, and we'll see why it is in the student range and not in the professional range. But basically, this is a set of 5 neon colors in 5 milliliters tubes, so small tubes. Aha, there you go. Now, of course, I've poured some paint out of mine, so they're not pristine. But let's see what it says on the back. It says 5 fluorescent neon colors in 5 ml tubes, artists' pigments in high concentration, fully reusable paint when dried on a palette, good control of paint flow. The colors in the set are neon yellow, neon orange, neon pink, neon blue, and neon green. There's a little asterisk next to the name here, and if you go here it says the print of this cardboard does not reproduce the neon colors exactly, because it is very difficult to print neon colors with cyan, magenta, yellow, and black printing. Side, so these are the tubes. It's the same format as their regular 5 ml tubes. However, there is not really any pigment information. All it says is fluorescent pigment, which is for fluorescent pigment. And it says that on every single one of them. Now, I have used quite a few neon paint set so far, and the colors most commonly found in neon paint set are yellows, oranges, and pinks. Mostly, often it's one yellow, perhaps 1 or 2 oranges, and a few pinks leaning on the purple. This set has a green, which you can find in some of the set, but it's a bit more rare, and has a blue. Now, this is something that is harder to find in the fluorescent color set. It is there, but it's often either the most lackluster color or there's something off with it. But in this set, you get a full tube of it, and it's quite nice. We'll see. So what I did is I set up little quarter pans like this, put a very inefficient magnet at the bottom, but that's not really what's important. So I have my 5 colors. I didn't bother labeling them because they're quite unique, that I'm quite confident I will not mix these up with any other color. Now, as you can see, they dried a bit weirdly. They kind of feel a bit rubbery. Well, I mean, okay, this one is still soft, so perhaps that's my issue. It's super humid, and I used these recently, so I think they are not fully dried up yet. So that might be the issue. I'm not gonna put my finger in every single one of them because that's, you know, begging for trouble. But they do dry differently than regular watercolor. The neon pigments, they're very different from regular pigments. They don't necessarily behave in the same way, and therefore they don't really dry in the same way in a palette. They are fully rewettable. I would recommend like putting a drop of water and waiting for a couple of minutes before using them if they're dry. But aside from that, they have a good strength, they're perfectly rewettable, and they work really well. Now, the next thing with these paints is often, well, what do you paint with them? And I agree, this is always something that kind of gives me a bit of a struggle, but I still found an idea for a little sketch to test these out. You could mix these with regular watercolor and obtain some really interesting new colors that have this glow, because the main fun of mixing neon colors with regular color is that the neon pigment still has that brightness, so it can add a lot to a regular color. But I opted to do this sort of little scene featuring like toxic plants and people lit up by, I don't know, magic. I mean, it was fun. And also, one of the really fun thing to do with these it is to give them a bit of a UV light treatment. I'll start with the swatches. So I think you can kind of see just how bright these glow. I apologize, my UV light has been giving me trouble. I need a different new battery for it. And then the whole painting also is quite fun to look at under UV light. it doesn't show as well on camera. You kind of have to see it in person to really get the, like this green here is completely blown out on camera, so I hope it's not that bad, but you can get some really fun thing. And I imagine that this would be a cool paint set to use for painting something that you frame under UV light. Like you have the frame and you have a UV light nearby, and when you light it up at night, well, you end up with this super glowy painting, which I think is a lot of fun. You could also add small details on a painting that don't really show as much on the regular lighting, but then if you put the UV light on it, these areas like glow up. So I think there's a lot of fun to be had with these. I feel like they're really creative in that way. It was fun to see that the neon blue is quite glowy as well. So I've mentioned that these are in the Academy range of paints. I'm not entirely sure why, but I feel like it might be related to the fact that usually neon pigments are not light fast, and since these are only composed of neon, or rather fluorescent pigment, if you look at the composition, and no other pigment, the conclusion we can get to is that these would not fare well in direct light, and under no UV protection, these would probably fade relatively quickly. So that's why I think these are in the student range and not necessarily in the professional range, though you do have quite a few really bright neon colors in the professional range, and that's probably the aspect of those paints that will fade first. So that's it for this quick tour of these paints. Again, I think they're really fun. I really like the kind of colors you can get by mixing the pink and the orange, which is what I did in the background. I think that's a beautiful color. And they mixed really well because, as you can see, I did some kind of wet and wet mixes here, and they really made for some really fun areas in the painting, and they didn't look like weird or off. So I think it's a really fun set. Then again, it's a bit of a limited edition, so I don't know how available it is. But in any case, Schmincke, in their professional range, they have a couple of colors that are quite neon, quite bright. So if this is not necessarily available, you can always look towards that. And there's always Opera Pink in most paint ranges. That is this bright neon pink color that is really, really fun to mix in yellows and cyan colors. Let me know what you think of these. I'd love to hear your thoughts. And again, thank you so much for watching this video. See you in the next one. Bye bye.